This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're gonna acknowledge me.
Well, here we are. Monday Night Raw review. A little bit late. It feels late. It's because Monday Night Raw was just so damn early the other day, yesterday. But here we are, and we've got more than just Monday Night Raw to talk about, as there's things coming through that are just ridiculous with pro wrestling, including some rumors like the fact that it's a possibility that Chris Jericho could return to WWE. Would I want to see it? Sure, I would. Why not? I don't need him wrestling full time. But if he wants to make an appearance, a cameo appearance of the Royal Rumble, hell yeah. Chris Jericho had a massive part in the late Attitude, early Ruthless Aggression era. Big star in WWE, among other contributions, and I would love to see him in WWE. So this idea that he can only be in AEW, how dare he betray, who cares? It's nice when AEW stars return back to WWE. Not that WWE always has some great plans for them, a la Rusev and Aleister Black, among others. But anyway, so that's my thought on Chris Jericho. We're going to get to Monday Night Raw in a second. But the one piece of Monday Night Raw that I want to get to about Becky Lynch and this whole controversy over her comments about Ozzy Osbourne. Are we serious right now? I just saw a piece on E Tonight, Entertainment Tonight, and essentially they're taking Ozzy Osbourne's side, and Kelly Osbourne is saying that Becky Lynch is a dirtbag, and the Birmingham wouldn't pee on her if she was on fire. Are we serious? Does anybody actually listen to what she said? Did anybody? First of all, even if she insulted Ozzy Osbourne, who cares? Who cares? I personally, even if it was my own family member, right? And they're said on WWE TV, like, look at that. That's, wow. A little bit of a shout out to, I guess, my, whoever that died, right? Like if it was your family member, whatever. You have to be, and we as a society, this is a reflection as a society of where we are. Becky Lynch actually complimented Ozzy Osbourne. Didn't even mention him by name. And she's a villain. Villainized by the court of public opinion. She simply said the only good thing to come out of Birmingham died a month ago. Okay. So let's just break down this very short statement that is causing all this buzz, and WWE is going to apologize to the Osbourne family. Okay. What is she apologizing for? Number one, this is entertainment. This is a story. Again, this is not to be meant to be taken seriously. These are the same people that tell us wrestling's not real. And then we'll get angry when we use something that they don't like in the not real story that we're told all the time is not real by those people who aren't fans. So which is it? Also, she complimented him by saying he's the only good thing that came out of Birmingham, according to her, of course, trying to get heat on the crowd. But the only thing she's complimenting is Ozzy Osbourne. Again, she didn't even mention him by name, but we all know who she's talking about. She complimented him by saying he's the only good thing that came out of Birmingham. Where's the slight again? Because it got an O. Yeah, it got an O because Becky is saying that everything else about Birmingham is crap except for Ozzy Osbourne. If anything, if the family even took 2 seconds to think about this, they'd realize, oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's actually a compliment, guys. Are we serious? Fools. If I were Becky Lynch, I would double down. Again, I don't know what the office is telling her. They might tell her to cool it. Hey, Becky Lynch, great line. Didn't insult the family. And even if it did, who gives a crap? Who cares? Do you know how many ex-celebrities and former WWF stars that have died have been mentioned on air? Are we supposed to make an exception here? when it was actually a compliment, respectfully, I would tell everyone who's pretending to be offended by this to F off. For real. I mean, this is just an unfortunate reflection of where we are as a society and all that. But yeah, so there, let's bring a little common sense to that line that I honestly really enjoyed. I hope WWE does not cave to the moral overlords who are pretending to be offended by this, which again is not even a slight on anyone except Birmingham itself, which by the way, that's her role as a heel. That's her role. So, I mean, screw off. I hope Becky Lynch doubles down again if she can. And if WWE caves to this manic, imaginary victim mob that are pretending to be offended on behalf of somebody they've never even met, or even the family who are pretending to be offended, I mean, sit them down like, seriously, okay, I'm sorry for your loss. I really am. Explain to me how this is not in good taste. Even if it isn't, I don't need your permission to make it be. I don't need your permission. Your father, as great as he was in his profession, is not a saint. Okay. He's not, he hasn't been anointed as a saint or some holy deity. He's a public figure that was successful, very successful in his field, an iconic figure. Are we not allowed to and pretend to not hear the news? And if news is relevant in a city that just had big news come out of it, we're not allowed to mention anything about it ever? F off. All right. Also, this Raja Jackson stuff. I promise I'm going to get to Monday Night Raw, but this stuff I'd have to talk about off the top, and then we'll dive into Raw, because if I don't, I may forget, and then I'll be angry I didn't add it. The Raja Jackson stuff continues to evolve. The story continues to evolve. My opinion about the whole thing has, and if you want to go hear my video opinion on this, I did about a 7-minute video on actually on YouTube that I released last night. So go check it out on YouTube. But my opinion hasn't changed. The story details have really not helped Raja's case at all. Obviously, if you haven't seen the video, he comes in and just pummels one of the wrestlers. WWE has officially disbanded itself from the WWE ID, any kind of affiliation with Knox Pro Wrestling. Has completely removed itself from the organization, any kind of ties. And I understand why. I understand they don't want any kind of tie to this, any affiliation, any bad press from it. I get it. But Raja Jackson, I mean, one of the wrestlers needs to, I'm not calling for it and trying to incite any violence, but justice would be justice, if you know what I mean. If somebody, did the same to him. Again, not calling for it, but that would be justice in a just world, because what he did is inexcusable. Now, look, I understand. I totally understand that Syko Stu, right, did hit Raja Jackson in the head with a can, and he didn't like that. And he wasn't, I guess, I don't know if it was planned or not, or if he didn't hit him right, but he was pissed off. Raja Jackson was pissed off, and he didn't sell it, and he, was saying, oh, we don't play like that and all this. To which Syko Stu tried to calm the situation down, tried to, make amends and have cooler heads prevail, to which it seemed like at the end of this that there was. Now, at the end of that televised segment here, this was a televised event here, or was a taped event. There were cameras there. So we caught this happening. And Raja was seemingly very annoyed. And I get it. I understand why he was. But also, you're in a pro wrestling environment. Like, you understand how this all works, right? And if he was angry about how he got hit, then he should have hit back in the moment. You give the receipt in the moment if you're that angry about it. And then instead he does what he did and nearly ends the man's life. And he's still not out of danger, by the way. From what I understand, he's still in the intensive care unit. Again, if Syko Stu didn't hit him right, or didn't tell him he was going to hit him in the head with a soda can, then yeah, that's partially his fault. But does that warrant him being pummeled to nearly death? Really? Is that actually an eye for an eye? I don't think so. I mean, Raja Jackson just I don't want to hear that he thought it was a work, or he he got hit in the head with a can and all that. Well, you made amends. The man made a mistake. He apologized for it. It's on video. And then he goes in the ring and knocks out, hits an unconscious man, which, by the way, as I look at the tape, and I got this from the Stevie Richards social, credit to them. I really enjoy the Stevie Richards show. They do a great job. I think that he was knocked out after the slam, which was supposed to happen. It even might have been Maven who pointed that out too. Great YouTube channel to Maven. Shout out to him. He does a great job. But it looked like Syko Stu was knocked out for real, not by the punches, but actually by the back bump he took in which his head hit the mat. Because he didn't even try to defend himself from the first punch, which tells me he was knocked out before the punches began, but that's when the real damage was done, of course. That nearly ended his life and still may. And even after the, whole event, after the, however many damn punches he landed that could have killed him, he still had no remorse, saying that that's what you get and that's what happens and all the nonsense garbage that, again, his legal problems are just beginning. He's got a lot of issues coming his way, and rightfully so. I mean, he seems like a total piece of garbage, just a bad person. That's what he seems like. And I know people are trying to turn this into a race thing and all that kind of crap. But I'm just laying out the facts of how I feel. And, well, my feelings aren't necessarily fact, but the idea that, he and the facts that of what he said, that he has, he that's what he gets. And that's, he gave him his receipt and all that kind of thing. Again, somebody that's not in a pro wrestling environment, understanding what is due and what's not, is not cut out for this kind of a spot. And it's really unfortunate. I feel for him. I feel for his family. He's a former veteran. And again, I place a very small part of the blame, on Stu, who, again, if he didn't purposely, or he did purposely, maybe made it a little stiff, or he didn't tell him, or if he didn't hit it right on his head, the soda can, then fine. Then I understand that the want for a receipt, as they say, right? I understand that need, but there comes common sense where it's just assault. I mean, it's plain assault. So, still 100% on the side here of Stu, and certainly Raja needs to be charged to the fullest extent of the law. I mean, it doesn't absolve him of anything. It doesn't give you, just because you're in a pro wrestling environment, it doesn't give you a license or a free pass to just actually assault somebody. And I'm sure he'll try to use that as defense if it goes to trial, or if he needs to absolve himself of this, because I'm sure he'll try to get rid of this and talk about how it's a pro wrestling environment, and he hit me and wasn't supposed to do that. And ultimately, the prosecution has all the evidence they need to put this jackass away for a long time, and he should be, absolutely. So that's my thoughts on it. You guys want to make it a race thing because that's what we do as a society, go ahead. I don't care. There are people in the comments of my YouTube that somehow still feel that he is warranted in doing what he did. I'm not kidding. There are actually 16 comments on my YouTube, and it says, here's a couple, just a couple. Nah, you know nothing, buddy. There's one. A very, very well laid out argument. Bro, honestly, I'm just glad Raja kept it gangster. You feel me? Whatever the hell that means. Oh, God. Let's see. Stu will suffer an aneurysm from that damage with a bunch of hearts. Yeah, that's not good. The dude should not have hit him with that can. Always excusing the white man. See, there's your first racial comment. I'm not excusing him from hitting him with the can. Again, he did it in a pro wrestling context, and whatever his intent was with the can, it wasn't to actually inflict maximum damage or to try to kill him. Unlike Raja's response in the ring afterwards. That's the difference. Yeah. That's not a usual slam, bro. When wrestlers slam you, they guide you down like holding a baby down its crib. That was a single leg takedown with that dude's back of the head slamming on the canvas. He was already knocked out by the time he got hit with the first punch, which is why he didn't defend himself. Well, yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, this is from one of the comments. Yes, I mean, I agree with that. I think he was knocked out, which is a shame because had he not been knocked out, he would have been able to maybe hold his hands up or, even fight back a lot harder. But again, there's no excuse for what he did, because what he did, if you're truly just going to give a receipt, I would have even been okay, or at least understood, if after he, slammed him as planned, if he wanted to throw a little real jab in there, just one real jab, and then, run from the ring. Fine. All right. Like, I don't agree with it still, but I would understand it. More than about 20 haymakers on an unconscious man. I mean, this dude's a coward. All right, bring on the hate. I don't care. It's just really, it's amazing to me that people actually think they can defend this somehow. I know Mark Henry did a little bit, but he placed a little of the blame on, Syko Stu. He did it, and I do too, for a very, like 5% of it. All right. So with all that said, let's get to the Monday Night Raw event itself, which, by the way, guys, if you're already still here, you can head over to Patreon and go ad free at patreon.com/WWE podcast if you want to get rid of all these ads you hear. So we had a massive open to Raw, huge pop for Roman Reigns, who was introduced, and he told the Birmingham crowd to acknowledge him. OTC chants. He said it felt like old times. The fans still sound the same in that they're loud as hell, and he said he had big plans for the night, the rest of the year, and next year. He said he had to be honest with himself. He said the fans acknowledged him, but there was something he needed to acknowledge in order to move forward. Roman said it's not old times anymore, and he's not the guy he used to be, but maybe he can be. Reigns said Cody Rhodes predicted it a year ago. The crowd booed, which was interesting at the mention of Cody's name. Reigns looked surprised and said, interesting. Reigns mentioned the Vision faction, which was also booed, and they followed through with what Cody said by taking everything from him. And Reigns smiled and said he felt that way for a long time about the F.U. Rollins chants. Reigns said he no longer has the bloodline. He credited Jey Uso with winning their tag team match. He said Jey has the rematch clause, which I guess those are back, and he should be challenging for the title. Reigns said his time will come. Roman said the Vision had to find something to take from him, which brought him to Bronson Reed. And then Paul Heyman comes out with Bronson Reed, who had the shoe of follow around his neck, and Reed also wore a Tribal Thief t-shirt, and Heyman called Reed the realest gangster to hit Birmingham since the Peaky Blinders. What the hell is that? What I don't even know what that is. I'm sure something in Birmingham I'm completely unaware of. So Heyman noted it was 5 years ago this week that he went from being Brock Lesnar's advocate to becoming the wise man for Roman Reigns. And Heyman said Reigns is now by himself in the ring. And Heyman said, I love you, my tribal chief. He said he loved him 5 years ago and he loves him now, which is why he came out to disrespect him. The crowd sang Roman Reigns' name, and we had Heyman say he didn't come out to disrespect Reigns out of malice. He did it out of respect. And Heyman said Reigns needs the tough love that a wise man can deliver. He said that he isn't man enough to beat tough love into Reigns, but Reed is. And Reigns said, hey, dumbass, on Sunday in Paris, you can kiss my ass because I'm going to whoop his ass. All right, a lot of asses. That's three asses in a sentence. Felt like the old Roman Reigns big dog coming through there. I don't like it. I've talked about this before. I do enjoy Roman Reigns' tribal chief character. It is infinitely better than the big dog. But this line was very much a shadow of the big dog type of promo, where he's kind of just using, elementary language, elementary insults. Kiss my ass, dumbass, whoop his. I mean, really? I don't know. Hey, if that's all he's got, that's all he's got. But that very much was a throwback line to the big dog. So Reed said it won't be about receipts. It'll be about disrespect. And he said Roman's tribe from Samoa is civilized. Reed said his tribe is not. And that's why they were exiled and sent to Australia. And he said that Roman's tattoos are paid for where his were earned. And Reed said he's the Samoan that the Roman's father and uncle warned him about, and he'd find out why at Clash. And then let's see here. Reed said Reigns didn't want him to come to the ring because he would force him to acknowledge him, blah, blah. All right. So both men got in the ring, and here we go. Brawl, pull apart. Reed hit a few security guards. Reed went for Roman's shoes, but Roman's kicked him in the head. Reigns kicked him in the head, and then Reed hit Reigns with a senton and went for the tsunami, but Adam Pearce came out, and the referees got out of the way, and it was a nice segment. It was a nice segment to build to their match that otherwise was kind of ho-hum at Clash in Paris. It's nice to see Roman back in a one-on-one capacity. I enjoy the partial OG bloodline reunion of Jey and Roman. I get it. But right now, Roman Reigns needs to be on his own. He thrives right now on his own. And I think the match with Bronson Reed is going to be a lot of fun coming up on Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun because this is the biggest match of Bronson Reed's career, bar none. So it's really about Bronson Reed more than anything, believe it or not, because Roman Reigns, win, lose, or draw this match, is not going to be affected either way. Barring some catastrophic, angle here that I don't think is coming, Bronson Reed, I actually think could win this because Roman Reigns is a made man. He's already a Hall of Famer. He is one of the faces, if not the face of the company. And Bronson Reed right now is still trying to make his way, where a lot of the attention has been on Seth and especially on Braun Breaker. Bronson Reed has taken a back seat for a little while, and now it's time to bring him up to the forefront. And what better way to do that than to put him in the ring with, the face of the company in Roman Reigns. So this match is huge. Underline the word huge for Bronson Reed coming up at Clash in Paris. Huge. Because I think this is a litmus test. If I'm a writer, or rather I'm part of the creative team. And while no title's on the line, I'm still looking at this and kind of saying, okay, how does he do here under the bright lights in the biggest match of his career? How does he do? Does he sink? Does he swim? That's how I'd be looking at it if I were the company. So as fun as it's going to be if Roman Reigns wins, and it's very possible he still does, even in a losing effort, you could still have Bronson Reed be elevated. That's very possible. This match is very difficult to call, honestly. But if Bronson Reed wins, I think that there's a case to be made there. Even having him beat Roman Reigns clean. I know that a lot of people these days don't believe in heels beating babyfaces clean. It can happen and should happen occasionally. This may be one occasion where it can happen. All right. Dragon Lee takes on JD McDonough with Finn Balor, and Dragon Lee beats JD in 8 minutes and 40 seconds. The finish was Reed hitting a Liger bomb, which caused McDonough to land on his feet. A short time later, Dominic Mysterio showed up at ringside and tripped Lee. AJ Styles hopped the barricade and made quick work of Dom before sending him over the barricade. And then Lee hit Operation Dragon on McDonough and got the 3 count. There was a little bit of a mix-up there. Everybody seemed fine. There was a bit of after Dom came in and did the trip, somebody mixed up something, some kind of cross communication, but everyone was fine. No harm, no foul. Dragon Lee does beat JD, as I said, in 8 minutes and 40 seconds. And yeah. All right. It's also, by the way, as far as AJ Styles goes, I think there is a run left in him. I mean, AJ Styles, he's been mentioned in John Cena's promo as of late. There were AJ Styles chants after that. AJ Styles, after he appeared on Monday night, did get a nice reaction to counter Dom. AJ Styles had an excellent match later in the night. We'll talk about that. I think is making a case to have a nice run with a Intercontinental Championship. Dare I say even world title? Dare I say it? I know. seems implausible, but we'll see. Also, there was a hint that Roman Reigns was talking about the world title, going back to what he used to be, meaning being a champion again. But Roman Reigns chasing the world title isn't the craziest thing either. Something to think about. So we then have a Rusev vignette air. I know LA Knight was interviewed, but wasn't much really that came of it. Okay. He was interviewed in what appeared to be a closed restaurant inside the venue. That's what it looked like anyway. He wondered why Punk hitting him last week was accidental or intentional, building to an eventual, of course, implosion among Punk, Knight, and Jey Uso at the end of the night. But we'll get there. So again, the Rusev vignette aired, and he said that he would no longer listen to people who told him who to hurt. Rather, he would decide who he wants to hurt. And he said his conscience is clear about what he wants to do to Sheamus at Clash in Paris. And Cole said that Sheamus and Rusev are going to compete in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match, and that would be their final match, as it should be. All right, so Balor called out Dom in the Judgment Day Clubhouse, saying that he thought Dom had McDonough's back. And again, a lot of the same stuff here. I mean, the same, like, you got my back, and tension, and then there's not tension, and everything seems cool, but there's kind of whispers behind their back. That's been going on for like 2 years now. But Dom said Balor has known AJ the longest and asked him to take care of Styles tonight. So that's kind of I don't want to say useless segment, but not a lot of substance there. What did have some substance is Penta versus Kofi Kingston. The match went 10 minutes, and Kofi Kingston beat Penta. The finish was Penta hitting the driver and went for the cover, but Kingston kicked out. Penta then took out Waller, whose petition papers went flying, and Penta returned to the ring and hit a flip dive on Kingston and Woods. Back in the ring, Penta went to the ropes, but was distracted by Waller, and Kingston pulled Penta off the ropes, hit Trouble in Paradise, and got the victory. So the numbers game did get to Penta here, and we'll see if this really leads to anything. I don't know if they're going to do anything with Rey Fenix to try to counter Kofi and Xavier, but I mean, it's a good, solid wrestling match, and it's nice to see Kofi Kingston not making sophomoric jokes. Anything that Kofi does beyond that gimmick he had for 10 years in the New Day is a plus for me, but Penta losing here to Kofi is not going to be the end of the world for Penta. But I will say, Penta has been on quite a losing, he's been on the losing side of things for the last several months now. He started off incredibly hot, got a lot of victories under his belt, and has, I think, probably balanced out the equation here by the number of losses he's taken since he debuted in WWE. So we have footage airing of Cody Rhodes on WWE Unreal, which is just a travesty to me. It's a freaking travesty. But at ringside, Graves said he's learning about people he's known and sees behind the scenes every week because Unreal lets the people show a different side of themselves. I hate this. Look, if you guys don't have any concern about kayfabe anymore, and you just don't care and you somehow are getting emotionally connected to a product that constantly reminds you that you really shouldn't be emotionally connected to it because they're showing you every 5 seconds and reminding you every 5 seconds that what you're watching is a work, and here's how it's done, and here's what we do behind the scenes, and see, we're all friends. We're all friends behind the scenes. To me, this is absurd. This is what I'm talking about. Like, if they're going to do that show, which I would never do it, but if they're going to do it, at least keep it off the show that's going to tell them how the show that they're watching was made. Gee, I don't know. But at the same time, how are you going to promote the show if you don't tell people about it on the show that most people watch, which is Raw? So I understand it. But do you know what? There's such thing as social media. WWE has 110 million followers on YouTube. That's just YouTube. Probably 100 million more across all their other platforms of Instagram and X and others. So there's a lot of ways to get the word out other than putting your own putting a show that undermines the product of the show that you're watching. It's quite fascinating. I've never seen anything like it in any entertainment platform ever. It's fascinating. It's infuriating. It's sad. All wrapped into one. Again, can you tell that I understand the intrigue about Unreal, but I want some mystery left, man. Just some. So, backstage, Io approached Rhea and thanked her for having her back last week. We have her say that she respects Ripley, but Asuka and Sane are not pleased with Ripley getting involved in their business, and Sky said they should keep their distance for a while. Asuka and Sane entered the picture and watched them from a distance. Ripley said she respects Sky and understands. Ripley went to leave, but Io stopped her and gave her a hug, which upset Asuka in the background. I mean, I don't know why we are playing, pretending that these adults can't be friends with whoever they want to be friends with. But Asuka is going to play the jealous psycho friend, which is, again, if that's the avenue they want to go, Asuka is more than capable of playing that part. Asuka is multi-talented and can definitely play the darker, psycho, easily triggered role if you need to do it, and she can do it. So, backstage, Adam Pearce told Stephanie McCord that she is the number one contender for the Women's World Championship. He said the title is vacant, so her match couldn't happen in Paris. He asked her to wait a week, and he already had an opponent in mind. She said she wished she could be at Clash, but understood and would be ready, which is it sucks for Stephanie, because she's, again, even if there weren't plans to have her capture the belt, it would have been a nice stage to have her on to see her compete at a PLE one-on-one for the women's world title. It would have been, I think, a big step in the right direction for her career. It's not a career ender that it's going to be a week later, but it's on a lesser platform. Let's be real. It's on a platform that is not a PLE. It's on a platform that is still Monday Night Raw, which again is nothing. There's no shame to be had here. It's just a big opportunity has turned into a above average opportunity. That's what it's turned into. I don't know if they'll have her actually win the belt, but it's going to depend who her opponent is. That's the hook for next Monday night, which is fine. All right. We have Becky Lynch come out. This is what I already talked about a little bit. She said the fans can boo her, but she wants them to know that Birmingham was a big part of her journey. And she recalled having her WWE tryout in the city. It was a real dump then, and it's a dump now. And she mentioned that Nikki Bella was supposed to call her out. And she said she's not a dog. Nikki Bella comes out and said, if you're not a dog, then why are you acting like a little bee? And Nikki asked, which is a good line. I don't know who came up with that. Decent line. For all the criticism and crap I give Nikki Bella, if Nikki came up with that herself, and then hands off to her. Yeah, cool. If she didn't, then nice delivery still. She asked, while heading to the ring, again, she asked that question about the little bee. Nikki then asked about getting a title shot, and Lynch said she doesn't just hand them out, especially not a broke neck Barbie. And she came in the ring, and Lynch said Nikki and the better twin, if you ask me, revolutionized the women's division. Lynch said she never wanted to respect Nikki. She wanted to replace her. Nikki said Lynch wanted to replace her because she's afraid to face her. First of all, Nikki, again, Lynch, no. The Bellas represented what we wanted to change. The Bellas were the face of the Butterfly Divas era. They are the face of the generation that we wanted to change. They are what we wanted to move away from. I don't know why that Kyrie is pretending that Nikki is a trailblazer suddenly, and Lynch is pretending that the Bellas and her revolutionized the women's division. No, Becky, you are part of it, but let's not try to revise history. The old revisionist history effort here that a lot of people are on the mission of these days in our culture in a lot of different areas, but now in wrestling, it knows no bounds. We're all going to pretend that Nikki and Brie were revolutionary in concert with Becky to revolutionize the women's division? No. Becky was, Bayley was, to much of my chagrin, Mercedes Moné, i.e. Sasha Banks was, Charlotte was, the original four horsewomen, right? Yes, even Paige, while she was a Divas champion, did represent kind of the start of a change in the women's division. Yes, even, of course, CM Punk's wife. She was a massive, massive draw and still would be if she ever were to return. Crazy is my superpower, right? She was excellent. But the Divas, the Bellas represented a Divas era. They were the face of the era we wanted to move away from. They need to stop pretending otherwise or trying to, again, rewrite history. Stop. Stop it. I'm not buying it, and neither should you. You guys can love the Bellas or not, but that's just a fact. Okay. Nikki said she remembered Lynch being Charlotte Flair's little sidekick, and Lynch took issue with it and boasted about being the best women's wrestler, and Nikki said the people make Lynch relevant. Nikki said Lynch has become desperate and asked if the man lost her balls, and Lynch said she has balls, and eventually agreed to give Nikki a match at Clash, and said she didn't want to wrestle in Birmingham, and the only good thing to come out of the city died a month ago. And added that Ozzy had the good sense to move to Los Angeles. It's a good line. Again. Good line. That's actually 2 compliments. She said complimenting Ozzy for being smart enough to get out of Birmingham. So she's saying Ozzy's smart and he's the best thing to come out of Birmingham. Again, where's the insult? And even if there was one, get over it. It's pro wrestling. If your tummy hurts because of somebody using a very public figure, one of the most public figures in human history, I would say, with Ozzy Osbourne, one of the most recognizable names in all of entertainment. If we're going to pretend that, we're not allowed to use that name because somebody's tummy may get hurt, get the hell out of here. Sorry. But good stuff here. I mean, the lines here with Nikki and Lynch have been much more entertaining than it was with Lyra and with Becky by a mile. And I'm going to give Nikki credit where credit's due, as much as I despise the fact that we're all supposed to just bow at the presence of Nikki to pretend she's some kind of pioneer in the women's division, which she was not. She actually was the antithesis of that. But that's my opinion. I will give her credit for delivering the lines well. She seems invested. She seems like she's actually putting the time in. This is not just a quick stint for her. And that I will give her credit for. I will. And she has done so far not too bad in the ring. She's not otherworldly. She's not going to be the main event of WrestleMania, all that, but she has taken this seriously, and I respect that. So Nikki said, Lynch knows that no matter how hard she tries, her name will never be as big as Bella. Nikki took the belt, held it up, and spoke about becoming the new champion. And Lynch tried to kick Nikki, and they went back and forth, reversing each other's finishes. Ultimately, with Becky Lynch, retreating, and Nikki tossed Lynch the belt, the Intercontinental title. So again, a solid segment here. So we did have. Let's see, what was the next segment? Oh, CM Punk. CM Punk was backstage and brought up LA Knight's comments. Punk said he heard what he had to say, and obviously it will be every man for himself on Sunday. He was just trying to get everyone on the same page so they could all make sure they got they all got to the match, given that Seth has the numbers. And Punk recalled Knight saying he's hungry. Punk said he's actually obsessed, and that was it. Okay. So a Sheamus vignette aired. He called Rusev the big star who returned that no one wanted or asked for. Kind of funny, actually. There's a shred of truth in that. I mean, I wouldn't say nobody wanted Rusev back, but it's not one that we would have died if he never came back. No disrespect. It's just a fact. I mean, but Sheamus said Rusev regained his respect, but Rusev shouldn't forget that he's the one who had to drag it out of him. Short, to the point, effective for what it is for both men. Rhea Ripley then takes on Roxanne Perez, with Ripley beating Perez in 10 minutes and 40 seconds. Let's see. The finish was Ripley overcoming interference and hit a razor's edge on Perez for a near fall. Ripley took out Rodriguez, but Perez took out her bad knee, and Ripley came back with a headbutt and got a riptide for the victory. But afterwards is really what the story's about here, because Rodriguez attacked Ripley, and Roxanne was also beating down on Ripley, and here comes Io Sky to come out and make the save, which was nice. Again, you have Asuka and Kairi looming in the back, watching all of this as Io continues to defy the group think that we should all hate Rhea. Rhea bad. And Io is seeing otherwise, and eventually it's going to be Io Sky and Rhea Ripley versus Kairi and Asuka. Can you not see that coming? I mean, it's coming, but here's the other thing. I could also see both. If you really want to have Ripley take a break from the women's title division, you could have Rhea and Io become women's tag titles holders if you want to get the belts off of Alexa and Charlotte. It's something you could do. They wouldn't be champions for very long. More than likely, you'll probably transfer it to Asuka and Kairi. But again, a couple steps ahead here, but it looks like that's where things are pairing out, where Asuka is going to blow a gasket and turn, and same with Kairi. So we have Sky and Ripley finish a conversation backstage. Ripley walks away. Asuka and Sane show up, and Asuka screamed at Sky in Japanese and told her in English to stop talking to Ripley, and Asuka stormed off. And Sky asked Sane to trust her, but Sane also did. So again, kind of fits the narrative that I just talked about. AJ Styles and Finn Balor was next. The match went 8 minutes with AJ beating Finn. A really nice finish here with Styles hitting a flurry of offense, capped it off with a near fall, and then went to the Styles Clash and got the victory. A really nice, smooth, again, it was only 8 minutes. These guys could go 28 minutes, but for 8 minutes, they did a nice job, and that was it. So let's continue. We have Bayley vignette. Now, the Bayley vignettes, other than week 1, have been weird. Week 1 was grounded in reality. Week 2 and 3 are grounded in Dream World, in the Matrix. Pick your euphemism, because we are suddenly able to hear Bayley's inner thoughts. This is not Bray Wyatt, okay? Wyndham Rotunda is not coordinating this from the grave. This is Bayley, that we can suddenly hear her inside internal thoughts. Again, I have no problem with Bayley turning into this, different kind of person. I think it's good. She needed some kind of kick in the ass. Her character was, to say she was stalled out is an understatement. So I have no problem with that. But they quickly turned to Hocus Pocus and Bayley fighting her inner voices about you can't do it, and remember the Bayley buddies and all the things, all her different versions of herself, and the talk show she hosted and all the rest. It's weird. But she said she heard from the inspirational hugger about how they believe in themselves, and she heard from the heel Bayley, who was negative. Bayley is struggling with her inner voices. Okay. I think I said this last week, but beyond the hokiness of the fact, and you have to totally shut your brain off, the fact that we can hear her inner voices, and also the inner voices somehow are able to manipulate the camera and have effects on the camera. How is this going to be executed as an entrance in the ring? Are we supposed to imagine the voices, and then we're going to get the narrative from the announcers of, as Bayley's putting her hands in her head and, she's struggling with whether or not she should cheat to win. And the announcers are the ones who guide us through the voices that are in her head. Oh, there goes Bayley listening to those voices in her head again. Which one is she going to choose? The devil, the angel on her shoulder. Are we really going to be, kind of guided through by the announcers who are going to try to take us back to these vignettes? And that's what we're supposed to imagine with Bayley struggling in the ring. I don't know how this manifests into a real character. What does this look like in execution? What are we getting to here? It seems like they're going through something that is interesting to a lot of people. And I understand from a respect that it is in a certain lens. Like you can look at it and go, oh, wow, cool. She's struggling with voices and she's hearing all these different iterations from her past self, past versions of herself. I get that. But if someone were to say to the creative, hey, well, like, okay, well, why are you doing all this? What is this going to look like in actual practice? From an entrance music theme to her new character that you're clearly trying to put her, trying to evolve her into. What does it look like in the ring? I don't know. I don't know if they know the answer to that. I hope they're not just doing stuff. So, Pierce then proposed Dom versus Styles for the Intercontinental Championship for next week. That'll be fun, and made it official. So two championship matches next week: the women's world title and the Intercontinental title for AJ and Dom. So fun week next week, even after the PLE. So we have LA Knight versus Braun Breaker. The match went 13 minutes and 12 seconds with Braun Breaker beating LA Knight. This is where things get chaotic, though, after Braun Breaker beats LA Knight. And the reason he beat him is because Rollins headed to ringside. Knight left the ring, chased Rollins until Breaker cut him down with a spear, and then threw Knight back in the ring. And CM Punk chant broke out before Breaker speared LA Knight again and got the victory. After the match, we had Cole explain that Rollins never touched Knight, so there was no disqualification. And the heels were then there getting the better of Knight. Jey Uso comes out to help him, but the advantage still goes to the heels. And Rollins hit Jey with a pedigree. CM Punk comes out, and Breaker left the ring and fought with Punk at ringside. Punk shoved Breaker into the ring post. The fans sang Punk's song, at least through the first verse, which was kind of fun. And he came in the ring, traded punches, and Punk got the better of Rollins. And until Breaker pulled Rollins from the ring, and the crowd was censored. I think it was some kind of profanity at Seth. And Punk checked on Jey. There was a lot of miscommunication and shoving and in each other's faces. And as Seth is on the ramp, he's watching LA Knight and CM Punk and Jey Uso implode. They all eventually hit some kind of maneuver on one another. LA Knight and Punk brawl, and then Jey Uso hits a super kick on Punk and on Knight, and that was that. So, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense because these four men are going to be facing one another on Saturday for the title. This is not some kind of evolution into, oh, Jay's going to be facing CM Punk one-on-one. This is a foreshadowing of that match or a foreshadowing of Knight versus Punk. No, these four men are just temporarily going to be involved in a story that is about the world title, and then they're probably going to go their separate ways after this PLE. But still, I thought it was a good show for Monday Night Raw. It was a good showing for, of course, I think the women's division for what's going on with Asuka. That's actually somewhat intriguing. That's turning into a story that I didn't think I'd really be interested in, but I am. And what Rhea and Io are going to do. And once again, it is very nice to see Rhea Ripley not involved in the world title picture, because Lord knows we've seen enough of Rhea Ripley in the world title picture, because every match she's in is world title, some kind of world title ramification. So this is nice. It's a nice kind of change of pace, a nice little kind of, like a more of a personal issue and respect with Io, but the other two that are friends with Io are now mad at her for being friends with Ripley. It is, again, you could equate it to a high school type of relationship between women or men, even to some degree, but it's simple to understand. And I sometimes need simple in my life. I certainly don't watch wrestling to complicate my life. I don't know about you, but with watching pro wrestling, I don't turn on the show. I don't hit play on my smartphone and go, man, things are just so simple in my life. How can I complicate it? How can I really screw things up? How can I make my mind stress out? I don't have much going on, that's obviously not why we watch any form of entertainment, much less pro wrestling. At the same time, you don't want to be so simplistic and just ABC all the time that it gets boring and you feel like you're watching a child's product. We have seen both at times. So you got to find that, kind of balance in your show. And I think that the company has done that by and large over the last several years and obviously continues to do that or we wouldn't be fans. So, yeah. But again, guys, great time to join Patreon because you can get a Discord server link, join the other patrons and talk anytime during live events. Really anytime at all. It doesn't have to be during live events, but also go ad-free at patreon.com/WWE podcast. A week for free if you want to try us. Then everything is just $1 for the first tier, and then it goes up as you get more benefits, including the After Dark show that is published every Wednesday. And I encourage you to check that out. Also subscribe to us on YouTube at the WWE Podcast on YouTube. That's been something I've been trying to be a little more consistent about. Just like 5, 6, 7 minute videos. And that'll do it. If you guys want to also subscribe on Apple Podcasts, you can do that because we offer an ad-free experience there on Apple for your listening pleasure to get rid of all the ads, as I said, that you hear throughout the damn show. I get they're no fun, and that's a good place to do it. By the way, I'll be back. What the heck? I might be back with a live show. I might even do the damn live show on Friday because then I can do a live mailbag / live preview and prediction show for Clash in Paris. So those of you that are on Patreon, I'm going to try to do a live show on Friday and see how that works out for your viewing pleasure. Now, I know Friday, many of you do work. So if there's few people that attend, then there's few people that attend. But I want to try out the live feature on Patreon and see how that all works out. So thank you, everybody, for listening. I appreciate your support. If you want to just give us a 5-star rating on any podcast platform you can, I would appreciate it. If you hate what we are doing and you hate everything about what I have to say, then still give us a 5-star rating because I said so. I'm sure that'll convince you. That'll do it for me. Thanks, everybody. I'll be talking to you in a few days. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.